Meet Reference Man. He's a white male, 25 to 30 years old, weighing around 70 kilograms and about 170 centimetres tall. And everything from phones and medicines to cars, and even the temperature in an office, has been designed for a guy like him.
Reference Man was created in the mid-1970s and became what I would describe as a kind of default or standard human that was the measure for everything, and actually kind of started to influence the ways that we might think about anatomy or the ways that we might think about the design in my disciplinary area of seating and bench heights and products and equipment.
Historically, women were excluded from research studies, so their measurements never made it into the data that shapes design. And even now, when there is female-specific data, the sample size in studies is often really small.
From my time spent researching the anthropometric data, it very much is clear that the man is the default user. There is a real lack of diverse testing when it comes to early user testing in product design.
The most common shortcut is to scale down men's measurements by 30 to 40% to estimate women's. But it turns out your average woman is not just a shorter man. Typically, she has a different body shape and proportions to your average man, with a higher percentage of body fat, less bone mass, less muscle mass, narrower airways, smaller lungs, smaller and thinner bones, and a smaller voice box. Not to mention differences in blood pressure, resting heart rates, and volume of certain brain regions.
We know that women have a range of quite different physical attributes that are different to men, but also that just broadly our population is very diverse. I think this is a really kind of current and critical issue that we're kind of navigating now.
At best, biased design can be insulting or inconvenient for women. Like fake pockets or no pockets in our clothing, and razors, power tools, even musical instruments designed to suit an average man's body. But at worst, it can be dangerous or even deadly. Studies have shown women are more likely than men to suffer pelvic fractures in the army because of biased design in military boots, course requirements, and backpacks. Female surgeons have reported issues using surgical tools that are designed for typically male hand size and grip strength. Most personal protective equipment isn't designed for women, despite making up around 70% of frontline healthcare workers in the world. According to one study, women are up to 75% more likely to experience adverse reactions to prescription medicines, which are tested on more men than women. And in some countries, studies show women are more likely to be injured in a car crash than men.
There is a big recent study, and many before that also shows for more severe and fatal injuries that females are less well protected than males.
Professor Linda is a world-renowned car safety expert. She created the world's first average female crash test dummy in 2022, after seeing only average male crash test dummies being used for decades, or a smaller version used to represent a very small adult woman. Professor Linda says her tests show the differences between the average female and male's size and proportions can change the outcomes of a crash.
Yeah, we are failing women because we as society, the female part of the population, is not represented.
Even when products are adapted with women in mind, they often end up just being a smaller, pinker, more expensive version of the same product that was designed for men.
We talk about this idea of the pink it and shrink it code of design. If it's a children's toy, covering it in a bit of glitter, and then you just kind of name it for women or for girls. We use a great example, which is a pink basketball court, which a landscape architect kind of thought would cover off the inclusive box in his recreational facility. And when we really start to dig deeper, we can also see that sometimes it can create even higher risk of injury. It can reduce performance if we're thinking about particular forms of products or shoes or clothing, etc.
They market tools for women, but they're just a different colour. They're not a different design. So there's no substance behind what you're paying extra for. So I think it really says something to how companies perceive women and a lack of confidence in our intelligence, and it just makes me feel like they think that I can't see through it.
There are even products created exclusively for women that lacked the research to make them work properly. Take disposable pads and tampons. Their most useful attribute, absorbency, was tested only using a saline solution, not actual blood, until 2023.
So this idea of gender bias is a really important one that we need to pay attention to, because it's not just that kind of object or that moment. It's actually a lifetime of gender bias that really contributes to the ways that we're shaping women and girls' lives.
Professor Calms is working on redesigning parks and public transport to be safer and more inclusive, using community research.
And one of the things that they often talk about are hand holders on trains and trams, because actually they're really quite high. And what happens is half of your top will ride up and kind of expose parts of your tummy, and it's just really uncomfortable. And that's one clear thing that's a real problem. I do a lot of work around recreational spaces and parks, which can be quite unsafe places for women and gender diverse people. It is a long game, but I do think there's a really critical awareness that means we're going to see some great and very unbiased designs in the future.
Alexandra was one of only 2 full-time female students in her industrial or product design course. And she reckons one way to help solve design bias is to start with education.
I think that we definitely need more women in research and in the doing. Like, we need more women across the whole process, from concept to research to implementation. Like, I never want this to come across as excluding men from the conversation. If a lot of the people in power are men, then 100% we need to have them championing this as well.